video, I'm going to share with you a little bit about our decision to do homeschooling with our daughter. Hi, I'm Ann with the Homeschooling Lifestyle, and if you enjoy this video, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up on this video. So we get asked a lot about why did you choose homeschooling, and it was a big decision for us. It's something that we started talking about shortly after our daughter was born 10 years ago, and we started investigating it at that time. And we were living in the US then, and so we had access to a lot of books on the topics of homeschooling and learning at a topic level, not at a curriculum level or how to choose which curriculum, but this was a higher level of talking about homeschooling and learning and the whole lifestyle. And so we started reading the books and having the conversations at home about what it would mean to our family to be a homeschooling family. And we just did a lot of reading, and it kept coming up, and finally we started having certain topics of why we would want to choose this lifestyle kept surfacing. And so having conversation about what was happening in the school systems in the US at that time, and how it was generally, the general consensus was that the level of knowledge had been dumbed down significantly over the period of the 19th century, which is public schooling started in the 1800s, so or in the 20th century, I mean. So but they weren't achieving the academic level now that they were 100 years ago, and so that was a part of it. And a big one, a really big one, is the freedom that it would give us, that would give our daughter. And this is freedom in all manifestations: the freedom to travel, the freedom for her to pursue her interests, the freedom for us to pursue our interests, the freedom for us to not be tied to the school calendar. In the US, even more so than here in Australia, life revolves around the school schedule. It is not always easy to pull your kids out of school because the family wants to take a 2 or 3 week holiday. So having that kind of freedom to make the decisions about our own life was a big part of the decision. We considered the financial aspects of it. Even though they are public, government paid for schools in the US, similar to the way they do it here in Australia, the fundraising over there is never ending. Every single week there are papers coming home that they're collecting money. There's a field trip coming up. We need new books for the library. We just need general funding for the school. It is never ending, the amount of fundraising they do. Plus you've got to buy all the supplies, and it's just, there's a financial aspect. And once you total that up, the amount that we spend on homeschooling is so small compared to what the fees and things that we would have had to pay in the US for attending school there. And one of the big differences is, one of the many big differences, is that we choose how to spend the money in the homeschooling. So we may not buy pencils, but go snorkeling. We may not buy notebooks and go surfing instead. So we can have really big outings that are educational based, or that are physical based, or that are just really interesting to us, instead of channeling that money into supplies or general funding money for the school system that we may never access. So if that general funding money in the schools is going to a sports program and our daughter doesn't do sports, we don't get the benefit of that. So anyway, that was a part of it, is the freedom that it gives us to spend our educational money the way that most fits our family. Another big reason is we are raising our daughter to our values, to the core beliefs that we have, rather than turning her over to a government school to be indoctrinated to the philosophies and curriculum choices that the school makes. There's a lot to that. There's a huge difference between children who are reared in their home by their parents versus children who are raised in institutions. There just is. And I don't mean that one is positive and one is negative. I'm just saying they're different and you get different outcomes. We chose to have our daughter. We wanted to raise her. So that was part of our decision. Another reason that we chose homeschool for our daughter was that my husband and I, both of us, had school didn't work for us. When I think back about it now through the lens of a homeschooler, and because when I graduated from school and until I started looking into homeschooling, what happened at school, my experience is what I considered the norm. So I didn't really know that it could have been any different. But now when I look back on that experience, I think, wow, I was so bored at times. My academic needs, my intellectual needs were not being met. I was being put into classes that, why? Aside from it meeting the criteria that someone else had set, that this is how you get into university, whether you want to go into university or not, but they weren't classes that interested me, and they weren't classes that were going to benefit me in the lifestyle that I chose. And so my husband has similar stories of his own experiences in school that it just didn't really meet who he was. And we wanted better than that for our daughter. We wanted her to not get a bad taste for learning. We wanted her to have positive experiences in childhood, that when she looks back on her memories of childhood, that they're good experiences. And so that was a part of the decision for us to homeschool. And then we did move from the United States to Australia. Our daughter was 7 at the time, and we decided to stay with homeschooling. We had actually done research to find connections in the local homeschooling community before we moved here. And it was so welcoming to find the community, and it was like our 350 best friends in a package, which was really comforting because where we had lived in the US, we really hadn't found a local community to participate with. And that was so very challenging, to want the lifestyle but not having our social needs met, and even our learning connections that could have happened through a community and that we have here, we didn't have that there. So deciding where to live here when we moved, part of that was based on there being an existing homeschooling community that we could step into, and it was just the most wonderful experience. And yeah, so we did continue along with homeschooling once we made the move, and it's rewarding. Our relationships with us being at home, it's less hierarchical and more even. I mean, my daughter's 10, she's not 18, she's not an adult, but she has a voice, and we function with each other, and we have to hear each other's needs, and we have to respect each other's boundaries, but that's all normal in life anyway. So yeah, so why did we choose homeschooling? Mostly, some of it was because of the schools, some of it was for the freedom that it gives us, some of it was because of our own experiences with school, and then so many little bits and pieces, the schools choosing curriculum, the schools, the fundraising issue. Um, there's, hundreds of little reasons, but a big part of it, I think, comes back to the freedom and just the enjoyment in day-to-day living and raising our own daughter are probably the biggest parts of that. So yeah, so if you're a homeschooling family, I'd love to hear in the comments, why did you guys choose homeschooling over putting your kids into school? And if you have any more questions for me, please put them in the comments, and I'll either answer them in the comments or maybe it'll lead to another video some other time. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you next time.